Okay, so good afternoon everyone. Mr. David here. So maybe I will help Mr. Kenneth to go through with you guys the marking attendance as well. Then I will go through the other stuff lah, right? So I'm going to share my screen. Just give me a second here. Share screen. Which one should I share? Where is it? Okay. Okay, so you should be able to see my MS team at the moment. Okay, if you cannot see, just unmute yourself and let me know. I won't be able to check the message lah. So just unmute yourself and it will be faster that way. Okay. So anyway, when you start off the lesson, right, the attendance you can find under general. Okay, you won't be able to find anything is in the E3D except for the meeting. I think you guys are quite aware of it already by now. But for the attendance, you have to go to general. Then you'll pop out the assignment. Okay, so you view the assignment. For my case, I don't have the question. It's a bit different from you guys. But you guys should be able to have a question whether you are here or not. Then you just answer it and then you are tuned in. Simple as that. So at this moment, you can see that usually this is where we print screen, who is in, who is not, and stuff like that. And then we will share into the class group. Just a reminder, your grace period is 15 minutes. You need to say anything after 15 minutes, we will consider you late. If you go past 12:30, in this case like half an hour later, then we will consider you as absent. So in this case, you don't have to worry. Alexia, we saw you in the comment. You are actively with us, so we will consider you as present. So don't have to worry anything about that. Any question you want to ask about attendance before I move on? Okay, if not, then I will move on to sharing with you guys some stuff. Okay, now you should be seeing something on Photoshop. I just want to explain a little bit more background, a bit of concept, and a bit more like theories and stuff. Okay, you guys can hear me, right? Just in case I'm muted by accident. Okay, hear me? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so far what we've been teaching you is a little bit like mathematics. Okay, it's like 1 plus 1 equals to what? 2, correct? Then it's like 2 times 2 equals to 4, right? Then 8 divided by 2 equals to 4. So we have been sharing a bit more about tools, all right? Multiple, minus, divide, plus, etc., etc. These are all the tools like max, the formula we are like giving you, right? But you are giving us like a very basic result. These are like the basic result. Okay, very, very simple stuff. So in modeling, what happens is that usually, what happens is that we will give you the result. Okay, and you are supposed to come up with the solution yourself. So what is the solution or what is the formula you come up with? It doesn't really matter to us that much so long as you can give us the result. Okay, so let's say 50 in terms of like max, right? Mathematics, 50. It can be as easy as 49 plus 1. Correct? It's a very simple one. Or like 40 plus 10. Correct? But you cannot be 40 plus 11 because you get 51, which is the wrong answer. Right? It can also be other things like divide, multiple, 5 times 10, etc., etc., or like 100 divide by 2. Correct? It will give you 50 as a result. So again, these are all the so-called solution, the tools that we can share with you. They are very, very basic tools. How you use them to get this result, that is on your part. Okay, that is the creative part from your side, how you do it. I hope that you guys are able to understand why the first week or first 2 weeks is like so dry. We've been teaching you guys to extrude, do this, do that. But at the end of the day, all these tools that you are using, you have to use them together. Okay, so just take note of that. Now in terms of topology wise, okay, topo to be short, TOPO, just keep it short. I mentioned that it's like a railway track. Okay, like a flow. Okay, all the polygons here, it's like a track. So if your train, okay, like roller coaster, this one going downwards. If your flow is smooth, then the train itself will go quite smoothly. But if your flow is like going zigzag, that kind of stuff, then your train will have a difficulty traveling down to the next destination. But what if your flow is going in such a way that they are helping one another, okay, to go into different pathway. Okay, so this is like example, your train is going down in this direction. You see, it's smooth in a certain way. Okay, so this is why topology is kind of crucial, right? So whatever Mr. Kenneth was sharing with you earlier about the planes and stuff, those are on a flat surface. But what we are doing is on a three-dimensional surface. Okay, so I'm going to share with you a few more other stuff. I need to share screen with you and another object. Okay, so some examples. So now you will see a character. Okay, so this is in three-dimensional object, correct? Three-dimensional space. You can see it from all angles. What you have been doing so far is like a very simple planar mode, or like rockets and stuff, which is quite repetitive on all sides, cylindrical at all sides. But in the future, maybe you'll be modeling character or you'll be modeling props. And topology is kind of crucial. Example, the mouth, right? Okay, so like the way the mouth is being formed, is being modeled is in such a way that when we animate it, when the mouth is being open, the expression is not so um, fake. It doesn't look weird. It's a little bit more natural. Things like hard surface as well. You want it to look good. If I take away the wireframe, okay, you realize like certain areas are meant to be pinched. Okay, you can see a small little pinch here. Certain areas are not meant to be pinched, like the hard surface here, all the areas here. When the light hits, you will realize that it's smoother. There's no weird artifact. Okay, so I'll share with you what is weird artifact later on after giving you guys some example. Also, another one is like sure. So this applies to all corners. Yeah. So even on a hard surface, prop, vehicle, environment, this is another example. Okay, unless you're talking about game modeling is a little bit different. But we want to learn the basics first, then we talk about other stuff. All right, so these are all the basic stuff that applies throughout the industry. So like this car here, broom broom. Okay, bottom there's nothing much, but you can see again, if I take away the lines, the wireframe, right? Certain areas that are supposed to be hard, like the edges here, they are pinching together. When the light hits, you will see the edges, the highlight over there. Okay, so all this is because of your topology. Okay, the edge flow, how you convert the flow, based on the exercise that you do earlier, right? Like example again here. Oops, sorry, press the wrong button. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight like this area here, right? We call this like the pole, right? Why? Because you have about 5 polygons or more coming together forming a star, right? And how does this actually help to improve on the shape? Okay, so these are some examples to share with you lah, why we are doing all these things for what reason. Any question before I move on to today's topic? No question. Blah blah blah. Arch enemy mathematics. Okay, cool. So now what you see here is just some simple model lah. Okay, I'll be going through with you quite a lot of things today. Those things might be new, those things might not be new to you, but I'm still going to cover it because whatever I'm going to share with you today, right, will be used for your exercise later on. Right, so as again, like what Mr. Kenneth mentioned, this is like a bonus. To me, what I'm trying to do here is to see if you guys are able to learn that extra thing within these 2 weeks. And if you are able to do it, which is good, then we can actually push your skill level to a higher level. Okay, and then we can really set like a new record or a new standard for your juniors in the future to work on. So all along, I say again, all along, we've been improving our modules, we've been improving our assignment, we've been pushing the standard a little bit higher every year. And I think for the year ones, we want to do the same. Okay, so we are going to try this out, and hopefully you guys are able to do it. I have looked through the Google Drive I have looked through all the submission that you all have done. Those who have submitted, very good. Only a handful of you guys are not able to finish it up. Like I noticed some of the rockets are not inside. Most of you guys have submitted all the exercises except for like rockets. Most of you managed to do the subdivision exercise, the topology exercise, which is good. Okay, so keep up the good work so far. Okay, so now what I want to cover here is more of selection. Okay, selection like H ring and H loop. Okay, so just in case it confused you, right? So H loop, can I use my H, it's easier. So when I double click on one of these H, okay, when I double click on one of these H, you realize that the whole range of edges are being selected. Okay, if I double click, if I want to shift and I double click on the adjacent or the edge that is directly opposite the other edge, the parallel edge, this is selecting this angle, okay, this row of edges. So we have a name for this kind of selection. So when I say I want to select an edge loop, okay, this is an edge loop, L-O-O-P, edge loop. So what is an edge loop? Okay, if your edges are touching one another, okay, so this edge and this edge, they are touching one another, we consider this as an edge loop. Okay, L-O-O-P, edge loop. So this one consider as what? Okay, this one got one space in the middle one, we consider it as edge ring, R-I-N-G. Okay, edge ring. So in your modeling, you will definitely have to use edge ring or edge loop. You cannot run away, because when you have a polygon or like a 4 polygons like that, you already have edge ring or edge loop already. All right, so you need to kind of know what they are. Then when you are modeling that time, and when we come to you, we tell you that, oh, maybe your edge loop, you need to do certain things to your edge loop. You need to select your edge ring, that kind of stuff. Then you understand that, okay, what is the teacher referring to? Okay, so don't confuse yourself. Edge loop is the one that the edges are always connected to one another. Edge ring is the one that the edges doesn't connect to one another. Okay, they are opposite one another. Okay, and give you something like that. Okay, so in this surface, okay, it's another surface. I'm going to my edge mode. Right, so this is a circle. Okay, this is a circle. Same concept. Same concept. If I double click on this circle here, this edge here, what is this called? Okay, good. Then what is this? Somebody else beside Lukman. I think Lukman is the one answering, right? Or Shakil. Okay, somebody else we can answer this. What is this?
I think some of the people cannot use the mic, so you need to do it in the chat.
I'm looking at the chat. Only Gordon replied so far. Oliver replied earlier. Okay, this is a edge ring. Okay, so remember, if your edges, they are opposite one another, they are not connected in any way, this is called an edge ring. Okay, and this is called an edge loop. Right, so hopefully you all can understand better. Now if I go into my face mode, it's the same concept here. Okay, this is a face loop. Okay, so most of the time there's only loop only for the face. There's only loop, because why? Because all the faces are connected to one another correct, unlike the edges. So we always have hold on to shift, double click, okay, and then you have a loop going around. Okay, and this loop is exactly what I talked about, the tracks on the train platform. Okay, you can see that this is a very nice circle, so your train will most probably go in the circle, right? So if your flow is like this, this is another example when we talk about the topology flow. Okay, you will see that if I go into my face mode and I select the face loop, all the squares here are quite even. Okay, there's no change in the volume or the size, except for maybe the one in the middle, because it's being distorted, being moved. Okay, but whereas here on the other side, okay, the faces here is a bit more squashed. Right, so on a flat surface, go into object mode, take away my wireframe. On a flat surface, you don't see what is happening. Okay, even though we are doing this kind of stuff, we don't really see what's happening. In fact, I can even take a plane. Okay, now my subdivision is 10 by 10, right? I can reduce it to 1:1. And again, on the wireframe mode, you don't see, on the shaded mode, you don't see any difference. But when you select the object and you look at the wireframe mode, you can tell that the one on the right with 10 subdivision, that one is a little bit more expensive. Okay, expensive because there's higher poly count. So anyway, that's the poly count is just something extra to share. What I want to share here is that let's select a few of them. Okay, and then I'll move it down. Okay, maybe I shouldn't select this. Okay, the other way around. Let's select this instead. Control E, extrude. Okay, then now you can really see that in a three-dimensional form, the thickness that we create actually plays a part. Okay, so this is all I can share about edge loop and edge ring. Any question about edge loop and edge ring before I move on?
Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you select the face, right? So that one is a ring or loop, or is it just face?
When you select the face, it's only a loop because all the face are connected to one another. Right? All the edges of the face are all connected to one another. So you can only call it a loop.
So as long as the lines are touching each other, it's a loop.
Correct. Okay, so again, if the ring meaning to say the edges doesn't connect to one another, these are all the ring. Okay, loop is when you connect to one another. Most of the time when you double click, it's an edge loop. No matter what, when you double click, it's always an edge loop. So the only way to select an edge ring is to select one edge, hold on to shift and double click on the opposite ring. Okay, opposite edge to get the ring. Okay, is there like a specific situation where edge loop and edge ring have different uses or just a definition? It's just definition only. When you model at time, when you want to convert, for example, like the exercise you do right earlier from Mr. Kenneth, right? Imagine now all the topology is being is all in one plane, and then you want to convert certain topology. You want to convert the 4 edges into 1, 4 edges into 3. Yeah, so you will use this kind of methods to select the edges of the ring, to get the things done. Okay, so anyway, this is more like a deformation um, to help you understand if certain things in your model doesn't look correct, why is it not correct? Okay, so I'm moving on. The next one I want to share with you is edge slide. This one will help you in your modeling. Okay, so I have two exact same model here. Okay, I'm going to move to my left view. Oh, left view is wrong, so front view. Okay, sorry, is there a question?
If there's nothing to him, why he reply?
Hmm?
Waste of time, bro.
What thing waste of time?
Why?
Why? Everything okay there? I continue. Okay, so anyway, now each slide. Okay, now you see this vertex at the center, right? Let's say I want to move it to the top. Okay, if I move it to the top, you realize that the angle of it, the sides here, there's a change in the angle. Okay, and we don't want that to happen because we want it to retain the shape of it. Okay, if we move it away, the shape is being distorted, it's wrong. Then we have to eye power is not that good. The accuracy is not there. Okay, so what we can do, is that we can actually slide the edges up. Okay, you can actually slide the thing up and down, and it will retain on the edge itself. Okay, so what I'm pressing here is shift control. I want to shift control.
Okay, sorry to interrupt. I think some of you, I don't know what is happening, but when Mr. David is explaining, please pay attention. Okay, I think some of you, I don't know, like commented something, and then there's a lot of spamming in the messages. So please pay attention first, and then later we'll address to what's going on. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I continue. Okay, anyway, let's continue. So I say again, for this part, the edge sliding, want to shift control, you click and then you drag. So in the three-dimensional space, three-dimensional space, this is how it looks like. You can select either the vertices, one vertices or two vertices, you decide. You can even select using the edge is also possible. So what we are doing here again is to hold on to shift control, then you move it closer, okay, or lower. You decide for yourself. Okay, so again, this one for what purpose? When you are modeling at time, you want to move certain edge closer to one another because you want to create the hardness. Okay, which in the next topic I will cover. When the edges are very close to one another, actually when you smooth, right, it will become harder. Okay, so the next topic I want to cover is actually smoothness. So remember that one, the shift control, that one you will use it quite often. Okay, so now in this cube, I think last week some of you accidentally pressed 3 and then you might have smoothed the object. Okay, if I press 1, it's in your hard mode. When you are doing a rocket or your satellite, this is what you see, right? But if you press 3 by accident, you realize that everything become very soft. Okay, so what happened here, we call this smoothing. This is a preview in Maya. Okay, so this is a smoothing process. And in other words, we call is subdivide. Okay, so meaning to say one polygon is being divided into another 4 polygons. So I take another plane to explain to you. Okay, let me reduce to 1:1. Yeah, so this is one polygon. So if I were to press 3, you don't see any change on the surface, but actually what's happening on the surface, right, is being divided up into 4 times. Okay, so it's the same thing here. You don't really see it happening, but the computer is actually dividing the surface, subdividing it, but in another words, we call it smoothing, so it's easier to explain to you guys. Okay, so this is only temporarily, so you can switch between 1 and 3. Okay, so in the future, maybe next time we will be using smoothing, but not, I believe it's not going to happen in your year 1 module. So you just have to know pressing 3 will switch over to your smooth mode. Okay, so why is it that we want to do smooth mode? Now if you look here, these 2 cubes, I'm going to hide this cube. I don't need this cube already. Okay, if I press 3 for this cube, you will realize that the top part, okay, is much more harder, less roundish compared to the bottom. Okay, less roundish compared to the bottom. And the reason is because of the edges. If you compare to the top edges here, you see these 2 polygons, these polygons here, and the edges, they are very close to one another. Okay, they are very close to one another. So when you have an edge that is very close to one another, and there's a curve, there's a change in the angle of the surface, it will give you that kind of hard looking surface. So I press 3 again, you see, okay, the result. So show you all another example. If I were to add one more edge loop, move it up, okay. So on this flat surface, just like the plane, there's no changes. No changes, no changes. It's on a flat surface, there's no changes. Okay, but if I were to go into the face mode, okay, and then I scale it up. Okay, I'm going to emphasize a little bit more. Okay, so you can see here I got 4 edges, 2 of them in the middle that is very close to one another. Once I take away the wireframe, you see that that area there become very harsh, very hard. Okay, so if I remove those lines, then it become, look at the contour here, then it becomes softer, not as harsh as before. Okay, so that's the reason why we kind of need to use the edge slide, because sometimes we don't want to change the surface, you don't want to change the curve, or we just want to shift control and then slide up and down, something like that. Okay, so just undo. Okay, now we talk about beveling. Okay, although these two at the top, they are quite hard. Okay, the edges there are quite sharp, not as rounded compared to the bottom. Okay, but the way they are being created is slightly different. This one here, if I go back into the hard mode, you will realize it's just like a connection. Okay, connect component. Or you can even use like your insert edge loop tool, where you cut one edge around the border. Whereas this one here, if I press back one, the contour, the corner there, they are actually kind of like beveled or chamfered or slanted, okay, depending on what kind of terms you want to use. Okay, but it also gives us kind of the same result. Okay, so the tool that I'm using here, right, is called bevel. You can find it in your shortcut menu on the shelf here. This one that is blinking right now is called bevel. Okay, so how I use it, basically I select the edge, I double click on the edges. Okay, this is called the edge loop, remember, edge loop. Okay, I want to shift right click, bevel. Okay, so bevel is on the right side. And then you will have this window. Usually I will reduce the fraction to quite a low value, 0.1. And you can see how the chamfer, okay, the bevel is working. Okay, so if you have a wider surface like this, your smoothing, the roundness won't be that sharp. So if you lower down, then the border there will be sharper. Okay, so let's try 0.005. Yep, it's okay. Okay, so again, this beveling will be quite useful when you are going to work on your next exercise, when you want to create a hard surface on the edges. This will be used to create it. Okay, rather than using, you can also use the connect component. There's no wrong in that, but you might find it a little bit more challenging to get the edges closer to where you want it. So the earlier one about the edge light, that's where you use that tool to move the edge closer to your border. Okay, now we talk about bridge. Okay, this is another one that you'll be using to create one of the parts for the exercise. Okay, so bridge you already know, and bevel I just share with you guys. So I'm going to use this cube to explain to you how to get the result. Okay, so this one again you'll be using it for your exercise. So I need to delete these two faces. Okay, and then straight away I will select the border, okay, or the edge loop, and shift right click. I'm going to use bridge. Okay, so now inside, right, you see that the edges, they're all connected, and I'm going to add some subdivision, maybe about 3. So subdivision, you guys should know that we are adding edge loop in between the earlier bridging. Okay, but now it's linear, it's a straight line. Okay, so we need to change the curve type to bend or curve. Okay, so if I switch over to the wireframe mode, okay, you can see that the bridge surfaces is being curved. Okay, so I'm going to switch back. So if I press 3 now, it looks something like that, very soft, circular. If your reference is circle, I think it's fine. But if you want it to be squarish, it'll be quite challenging to do. So this is where we use our beveling tool. Okay, I'm going to select the edge loop inside the bridge. Okay, I'm going to select all the corners. Okay, so how I know what to select? Basically, now I tell myself that I want the corners here to be in the, I want it to have a hard corner, hard edge. Okay, now it's soft. I want it to be hard. So I will select the edges there. Hold on to shift right click and then I'll bevel it. Okay, so if it's too big, it doesn't make any difference. Alright, so I need to reduce my fraction to 0.005. Okay, or 0.1. Okay, you decide whichever gives you the correct answer, a good result. Okay, so in this exercise, I think 0.005 might be too small. We cannot see what's going on. So I'm going to increase it so that we can all see what's happening. Okay, so now instead of a circle, you can see that it's a square. Okay, but the square, earlier on, all the exercise we said before, we want it to have four edges. Okay, now all of these sides here, you have 5 edges, or maybe even more, 6. So we need to fix the topology. So again, we talk about the formula, all the tools that we've been using. So here, all we need to do is to just connect component. So select all the vertices, shift right click, connect component. Okay, so we will fix one problem. We won't fix all the problem immediately. We can only fix one problem at a time. So we fix the problem, like for example here, these faces. Okay, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges. But now once I connect component, I fix the problem already. Right? I got 4 edges here, I got 4 edges here. Same for the other side. But the corners here, I having problem. I still have 5 edges. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so before I fix that, I want to fix the other side. So I select all the vertices. Okay, shift right click, connect component. Okay, and then now I have to fix the one in the middle. So I go into my edge. Okay, double click my edge ring. Okay, edge ring. Repeat for the other process. Okay, the other side. So I want to shift and double click on the edge ring. So now my edge ring is being selected. I'm going to add one more edge loop in the middle. Okay, and now if I undo, look at the corners, undo, you can see that this is quite round. I redo it, becomes even sharper. And once this is sharpened, once I've added this, I can easily just connect component again at the corners, and I can get a very nice four-sided topology. Okay, so I repeat again. Okay, shift right click, connect component, poof. Okay, so we have a cube with a hole in the middle that is bridged across one another. Then we make the roundness into a square, get it sharper. Okay, any questions so far?
Okay, I think there are a few questions
Okay.
from the floor. I think Oliver wants to see where's the division for the bridge.
How do you get the division?
So it's
division
like
thing?
after you do the bridge, I think the part after you do the bridge, how to get additional division and then how to change from the linear to the curve.
Okay, can. So I go through that one again. Okay, let me create another box for that. Okay, delete. Okay, so I shift right click, I use bridge. Okay, then I will increase the subdivision. Okay, you will have a pop-up window, then you can increase the subdivision. Then at the last option on your pop-up window, you have a curve type. And then by default, it's called a linear. So you can actually switch the curve type to a bend. and then you should be able to see your
You
linear.
only get the window after you do bridge.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
correct.
it will not pop up.
Yeah.
It's just like when you do extrude, then the window will pop up.
How do you get the window? I mean, okay. Are you able to see the window on my screen actually, or cannot see? Okay.
We can see the window.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so I move on. Hopefully you all can still absorb. Okay, this is the kind of like last thing really. Okay, so we learned about bridge already. Just cover one more time just in case. Okay, double click, right? Shift right click, then you bridge. Right? So it's one straight line, it's linear, there's no need to curve. So here another one I want to teach you guys is called merge vertices. So example, I go into my vertex mode. Okay, I select the two vertices. Okay, I can shift right click at the top. Okay, there's a merge vertices option. Okay, one more time, shift right click. You can see that at the top, this one here, merge vertices. Okay, so if I scroll over it, another three options will come up. Okay, the one that I want to share with you today is target well. Okay, so target well, you have to select one of the vertices and you pick another target. Okay, so you click, you hold it there, you pick another target, and then it will snap and merge the two together. Okay, so we're going to repeat this. So this is good when you have two objects, you combine them together, and now they kind of like, there's a space in between them, and you don't want to bridge because you want to keep the topology the same. There's no need to bridge. Or maybe it's just one small area, like for example, you have a hole here, and rather than using the fill hole, that kind of stuff, you just want to fix this portion. So target well is a good option or a good tool for you to kind of fix this issue. Okay, so now that we learned the target well, I'm going to use this opportunity as well to share the other merge. But first, I need to detach. No, this is extract. Detach. Okay, let's try. Okay, good. So if you see here, my edge, if I move right, it's actually a hole. Although on the screen, it looks perfectly, totally fine. Even when I smooth it, it looks totally fine. Okay, but when I go into my edge mode and I double click, actually there are two edges. Okay, they are overlapping one another. So this is actually not correct. We actually need to fix this problem. Right, so what I do here is that I will go into my vertex mode. Okay, I go from a view that I can select all of the vertices there. Okay, and then I shift right click, merge vertices, and then use merge vertices. Okay, it's another option. Okay, if I click on this, and then I will have a threshold. For me, usually I'll put 0.001. Okay, this is the fixed threshold that I will use. Press enter. And then now my vertices, they are merged together already. Okay, so one more time, the edges, they are now merged together. So this is the way I use the merge vertices. So just to recap, you use target well when the vertices are like very far apart. Okay, the vertices are very far apart. Okay, you merge from one point to the other point. You use merge vertices option when the vertices are directly overlapping one another. Okay, and then if you want to merge everything to the center, then you use the merge vertice to center. Okay, so whatever vertices that you select will merge together. So I don't think we'll be using the merge vertices to center for your next exercise. You will most probably be using a lot more regarding your merge vertices and target well. Okay, these two. Okay, any question you guys want to ask? Okay, if not, then I will.
I think one thing to take note is that number of you always kind of like want to merge or breach or target well when two objects are not combined. Okay, you need to make sure that whatever object it is, it has to be one piece. That means it has to be combined or one piece, then with a gap in between. So long as it is a one piece object, then you are able to do your target well, your merge, and then your yep. Okay, for that.
Okay, so far, I think Mr. Kenneth have taught you all a lot of things, and today actually I have kind of squeezed a lot of things within like half an hour. So um, I hope you guys are able to absorb. I believe you guys are able to do it also because I look through all your work, right, and I can see that most of you all can do it, and I'm very happy to see that in fact. So that's why we want to try something extra and see how you all respond to it. Okay, how are you all doing with this new extra stuff lah? Okay, so this is the exercise that I want you all to try it out. Whatever I just covered earlier, they are like the multiple, the multiply, the divide, the plus, the minus. Those are the tools. So things like this corner here, okay, the holes. Remember, I deleted the face, and then I bridged them together. Okay, I use the curve or bend, or I manually move the edges. Okay, and then I bevel the edges here. Then the hardness. Okay, look at the edges here. These two edges here, they are very close to one another. Okay, this is to capture the hardness of the object. All right, so earlier I shared also, either you use the insert edge loop, or you can use connect component, then you move the edges closer, or you can use bevel. All right, and then over at the top, you realize the way the topology is being flowing, okay, around here. Okay, so these are like the exercise that Mr. Kenneth have passed to you guys to do, right? Converting the change of the flow. Here you want to get the thickness, you simply just extrude the faces down, okay? And then for the merging of the vertices part, okay, let me just redo certain things. I actually don't need to do that. I go to my front view and do it easily. Oh, delete. Okay, so now I have half the object. Okay, you all learn about duplicate special. Okay, so my scaling is -1. All right, but I'm going to teach you something extra, something that might be useful for you guys. So I'm going to use, under geometry type, instead of copy, I'm going to use instant. Everything else, the settings are the same. My scale is -1 so that it will flip over to the other side. But my only change here is instance. So when I duplicate special, okay, what I can do here, if I go into my vertex mode, the other side will follow. So I don't have to select, or I don't have to do one side and then manually go over to the other side and do it again. It's very painful, especially when you have so many things to select and bevel. And if you bevel one side correctly and the other side wrong, or you have a difficulty trying to understand topology and you manage to like only do one and then the other side you can't do it again. So you can actually use duplicate special, okay, to help you repeat whatever you have done from one side over to the other side. Just make sure you are using instance so that you can work on the flow lah. Okay. If you don't want it to be, because now you see I have two of the holes here. If I don't want this to happen, then what I should be doing is that I should be doing things like duplicate, copy, change the instance to copy, because copy is the one that, okay, I think my Maya going to crash. Anyway, copy, yeah, my Maya crash. Okay, but anyway, copy is the one that will get rid of the instance. So when you move one side, the other side won't follow. Okay, I think it's
Also another thing.
yeah. I'm just reading the comments.
That, when you do this symmetry kind of duplicate special mirror to the other side, make sure you are modeling along the middle line. You can see on the grid, there's this black color line. So long as you're modeling along that line, okay, that is kind of like a world reference. That whatever that you mirror over, because it follow the pivot point, which is always in the world center, the 000. Because some students uh they model off, that is off center. So when they mirror over, it is not accurate, and then it gets kind of like a bit of a distance that is off.
Okay, let me reopen the thumb drive. Okay, so what Mr. Kenneth is saying is that your pivot point, let me go to the front view. Okay, you notice my pivot point is directly at the center. Okay, so just make sure to do that. Otherwise, your duplicate special will be out of place. Okay, so if I delete half of the model here, go back to my object mode, again, it have to be at the center. Then when you duplicate special, it will work. Okay, if my pivot point is off, like now it's somewhere else. Okay, if I press duplicate special, this is what happened. It is based on your pivot point where it's located, then it can duplicate the special. So if you have something like that, what Mr. Kenneth have shared with you guys is to group your object. For me, I will just press D for dinosaur. Okay, and then I will use the snapping tool V. Okay, hold on to V, and then you snap it to the center of your whatever surface it is. Then you press W to exit, then you can duplicate special already. Okay, so all of us have our own workflow of the way we do things, the formula to get the result. So long as you can get the result, that's what we are looking for, okay, for your current exercises. Of course, as you move forward, the formula might actually affect the result in some ways, but we don't want to restrict you guys too many things at the moment. We want to see if you guys can, get the result based on what you understand so far. So don't worry if you try, you make it wrong, doesn't matter. On the surface, we see how it goes first, then we slowly fine tune moving forward. Okay, so there's a lot of information that I covered. I hope you guys are able to absorb. Otherwise, what you can do, right, is that I hope that you already written some key points. Some of the key points you can actually try to search on YouTube. I'm not trying to push responsibility away and say, oh, I don't teach you already, but more like when you search on YouTube, right, you are listening from another person. So maybe the other person might be able to explain some of these terms in a way that you understand better than me giving you the answers again. All these things are recorded. Okay, so later I just need to do some edit, then I can send over or put it over on MS Team for you guys to catch back. But yeah, basically that's all I have to cover for today, lor. Okay. Okay, if not, then just now I just need to share one more screen. Okay, so the thumb drive reference is under our MS Team, under files. You'll see a thumb drive reference. Okay, if you click on it, you'll see on the left side all the objects, the actual products, the size from the different view. If you have the thumb drive, the same thumb drive, best, because you can actually see it physically. So these are the pictures that I can get from the internet. Then the one on the right is like the answer sheet. Okay, so it's to help you, guide you, you know, how the lines are flowing with one another. If you can't match 100% the same, is fine, it doesn't matter. Okay, but once you remove the wireframe, the surface, the contour of it should look similar to what we are looking at. Anyone have any questions? You all can just unmute yourself and ask. If not, you can type it out as well.
Sure, so the work that we have to submit is the temple, satellite, rocket, the mesh, the topology, and the thumb drive.
All right. All right. Most of you actually have
So
done.
altogether will be 5 of them.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, most of you guys have already done the 4 exercises. Only like a handful of you all haven't only submitted one. I only saw one person like submitted only one exercise. The rest of you guys have already submitted. Some are missing either the rocket, some are missing the fourth exercise. Yeah. So I believe most of you guys should be able to catch up lah.
So we need to submit this all by before Friday or
Next week lah. Next week when school starts again in campus.
okay, what's it?
Yeah. Do we still have lesson on Friday? No ma? Today is
Friday was
ya lor. You don't scare me leh. Yeah, so don't have to stress that.
Okay, what I'd like to say is that on Friday, so whatever that you have done, you just submit a copy, even though it's a work in progress. So from there, we can monitor, and then when you come back next week, okay, and then we'll help you to see whether you're doing it right, and then or help you to troubleshoot, rather than have no submission at all. Because if there's no submission, we don't know what is happening. Okay, so at least if you submit something, even though if it's not complete, from there we can see how we can help you with. Okay, so by Friday, try to submit as much as you can, even though if it's not completed. Okay, so all 5 of them. But if you are, for example, if you are